Hey everybody, this is Tom Box, and I am here with the champion.
Ruben Penaranda.
From competitive professional jump roper to Yu-Gi-Oh! World Champion. How are you feeling right now?
Surreal. Things are still settling in. Finally, I think I'm feeling a little level-headed, but extremely proud of myself, extremely proud of all my friends and the work we put into this. It's a long time coming. I feel like very long process, very long year, but I think I worked hard and I earned this title.
Oh, you definitely earned this title. I want to hear about your story, your journey of competing into all the different events to qualifying. Tell me more about that.
So this season started with a fun trip to Sao Paulo for a 3v3 WCS with a couple of my buddies. Y'all may know them, Kamal Crooks and Pac, pretty famous guys. We ended up doing really well. We took first place there. And that was awesome. Then I went to Cancun the next weekend, or 2 weekends after, because Jesse won Vancouver the next weekend. And then at Cancun, I got top 16. And then the next event I went to was, I think, Richmond? No, it was Indy. I went to Indy and I started off 7 or 8-0 with Tier Element and then lost 3 straight. Was really frustrated, but the good thing about that was it was my last event for a couple months because I was leaving for a 2-month work contract. So I got to be able to refresh my mind. And when I got back to things in January was when these famous Snake Eyes cards were coming out. Okay. So I decided to start testing them in January, and clearly that worked out. We went to Costa Rica, played another 3v3 with my 2 good friends. We won again. And then we went to Vegas the next week and then got top 8, which was great. And then after that, we went to, I think, Colombia. And I bubbled on that one because I popped a Fire King Island when my opponent had no fires on the field. So he popped a Snake Eye Ash in his hand that I knew he had, and then summoned Garunix, and I lost. But if not, Sky Striker Snake Eye would have had topped an event. And then, what else? So that was one of the bubbles, and then a bunch of regionals in between those. Unfortunately, like between April and May, I think most of my regionals I ended up starting off 6 or 7-0, and I lost 2 or 3 straight. And it was really hard to try and push through that. A lot of my friends had to really convince me to stay in the race because I was towards the bottom end of it at that point, and I really felt like giving up at one point. And one of my friends, Adrian, he told me, "You've worked this hard. There's no reason to quit now. Just do your best and let the chips fall where they fall. And there's nothing you can do about that. As long as you try your best, you can't be upset about it." And I really got to be grateful to him for making sure that message got through my head because I was really discouraged in the middle of May.
Wow, that's quite the emotional journey. That's quite the roller coaster.
Yeah.
Well, you now have a world champion title under you, but it definitely wasn't easy getting here. Looking at your journey, whether it be just this tournament itself. So what was your prep like for this event?
So immediately once the NAWCQ finished, I got together with Landon, I got together with Jose, then we got together with 2 of our friends, Chris and Hani, and we just created this group chat that was going to be for Worlds testing. And the name of the group chat started as USA to the Top because we wanted to win, obviously back-to-back, but USA winning in the US was going to be a first, and that was really exciting. And this was still at the point where we didn't know if Paulie was going to be joining us or not, so he was in talks to be in our testing group as well. And we just started looking at all the possible decks. We didn't know what ban list we were going to have or anything, but we just started testing with Beatrice, without Beatrice, with Moon, without Moon. We started testing Yubel, we started testing Snake Eye, we started testing Tenpai, started testing every possible deck just to see if there was anything cool. I tried a Melodious pile because I really like Osinato as a card, and it seems like it works really well with Fiendsmith cards because they're lights, so you don't get locked under the restriction of the deck. So it's something very interesting. And then they gave us the ban list and we're like, yeah, you can still use Snake Eye, and Yubel is literally not touched. So go play the same format you did at Nationals. So that made it a little easier because it narrowed down the choices for the tournament, but also the decks are so strong that it makes it really hard to win going second. As a lot of people know, in the TCG prior to the ban list we just got, Snake Eye just was the best deck. It had infinite 1-card starters, having 3 Wanted and 3 Bonfire and 3 Ash and 3 Fiendsmith, infinite starters. And then half the time you only needed 1 additional extender to be able to play through the second or the third hand trap, which is crazy because all the extenders are also starters and all the starters are also extenders. Yeah, so it's a perfectly built deck. But then I looked at the Yubel deck now that has none of the hits. It literally looks like Snake Eye. I have Nightmare Throne, which is Wanted. I have the Continuous Spell Opening, which is Bonfire. I have my normal summons, which are Lotus and the Dark Beckoning Beast. I have the Fiendsmith in my deck still. And then on top of that, I don't have to use my Fiendsmith stuff just to make an Appaloosa. I can make a Yama. And Yama is one of the most broken Link monsters right now. It's reborn, it adds from the graveyard or from the deck. The card is so good. Yeah, like the card needs to be banned. Just started looking at all the cards. It was really like Snake Eye is just slightly weaker, slightly less consistent, and you have to play Flamber's Dragon, and you have to play Buff Pop, and you have to play the Field Spell, and I was like, none of those cards can contact fuse to a monster negate that gives me follow-up, so Yubel is the right choice.
Oh, it definitely was the right choice for you. And from your preparation to your performance here, let's start with something a little bit more fresh. Your recent last final round. How did you feel when you got to go first and you looked at your hand? What was the emotions going through?
I was scared. My hand was Lotus, 4 hand traps. Anyone that's played Yubel knows that is very scary. There is this level 3 fire zombie monster that says negate. And I was really nervous that my Lotus was going to get ashed. Got very fortunate. I summoned the Spirit on the field, and once the Spirit was on the field, I felt very confident about this game because if he were to interact with me again, I would be able to successfully put a Phantom of Yubel on the field and have 4 hand interactions to be for his turn when he only has 5 cards. So 5 interruptions to 5 cards. Phantom of Yubel gives me follow-up. I would win the game on the next turn. Didn't have to use all my cards, but it played out that way anyway. And then game 2, my hand was good. My hand was really good, but he played it in a way where he was still able to combo after. I was fearing that Mark was going to end on Appaloosa as my hand, and you guys saw I started with Engraver as my first card. If he set up Appaloosa, I don't think I would have been able to win that game, but ending on the IP with the Princess board and Zealantis, which Zealantis is a card that's really good versus Yubel, because I can't go into the battle phase without clearing it, because then he kills my Nightmare Pain, and then my OTK is out the window. So it was definitely interesting. He let me get a little further than I thought before he started disrupting me, so it gave me the chance to open up the game and be able to put 3 Yubels in attack position to attack for game. It was a hard game for sure, but I was able to pull it out.
Oh, you definitely did. It was really, really impressive getting to the access code. Like, there were so many interaction points where we just weren't sure if there was going to be like an early interaction against you. Like, how did you feel when like, oh, you suddenly did a different line?
Like I said, it definitely had me a little worried because when you play versus someone that does the quote-unquote optimal or known lines, it's a lot easier to predict what you're going to do next because you have a solid assumption of what they are going to do. By Mark playing differently in the finals, it made it so I have to play differently because I can't reliably know how this interaction is going to happen, how we're going to trade, and I think that made it a little awkward, but not awkward enough to prevent me from going for game.
Okay. Well, sounds really, really good. Well, just something that I really, really want to know. Were there any cards that overperformed for you or underperformed for you for this event?
I really think every card in the deck had a purpose. I maybe didn't use them as much as I intended to, but it means I didn't need to, which means the deck also did its job very well. All the cards were there for a reason, like all the hand traps, we chose them for specific matchups. We did the math to make sure we were drawing them consistently and which ones and which combinations slow down certain decks. Post board, it becomes very weird versus Snake Eye because a lot of times, at least our group, we noticed that people were playing Angel of Blue Tears. Some of the Europeans were playing Nightmare Griffin. So things like that are slightly different make it so you have to hand trap your opponent earlier post board because they're going to be able to get to some sort of floodgate. You can't let them play. And that's why it makes it a lot harder, in my opinion, going second game 1 because that means you're going second game 3.
Okay. Let's kind of roll back a little bit to like, your experience here. Was there any moment that was really impactful that left a really solid impression to you?
I think the whole weekend, it was really impressive being able to hang around so many amazing duelists, and all of them were so friendly, even in the midst of the most competitive tournament of all of our year, at least, because some of these people, amazing to them that they have been at this tournament multiple times. So it was just awesome. The camaraderie, even between like opponents, multiple opponents that I either played or that and beat me or that I beat after the tournament or between rounds. We just go up to each other, hug it out, talk about things, just getting to know players from all parts of the world. That was really the highlight. It had nothing to do with the actual like playing of the physical cards, just the community involved around here at Worlds.
Oh, now Yu-Gi-Oh is a game that builds a lot of lifelong friendships, and you got to even experience that into international level. So it's really cool. Now that you're the world champion, so what's next on your Yu-Gi-Oh checklist?
World Champion Part 2 next year.
Whoa, that's
Hopefully.
right. That's right. Going for the back-to-back defend the title. Now, let's look into the future, of course. Are there any decks that you're looking forward to playing in the future?
So because this tournament is so important, I had blinders on for every Yu-Gi-Oh card that was not legal for this tournament. I don't really know what Malice cards do. I don't know what Razio cards do. I know they summon a rank 4. I heard they're good against the Molcharmy cards and Maxi. Not sure.
Well, I guess you'll have to test it out to find out.
Haven't paid attention to it, and I wanted to focus straight in on this.
You know, the focus is good and definitely paid off. What's the one thing that you love about Yu-Gi-Oh the most?
I love the endless possibilities. The lack of rotation in Yu-Gi-Oh frustrates some people. I'm kind of a fan of it because it allows people that are eager to come up with something different, go into the woodworks and find a card that has an interaction that was not meant to happen, but just because you can't think of a card that was printed 20 years ago and like optimize the cards being printed now to work that way. So you can get away with one tournament, maybe a whole format of playing something that should definitely not have been legal just because you spent the extra time looking for it.
For the viewers out there at home who wants to be like you, or just something that you want to say, what's one thing you want to tell the world today?
2 things. 1, anyone can do anything. And 2, to do anything, you have to do it with your friends.
Awesome. Once again, thank you, Ruben, for taking the time with the interview here. And congratulations on your World Championship. And, well, you have a different glow to you now. You have a World Champion glow. And I hope everything else that you're doing is also going to work out really well. Especially, you mentioned you're doing a jump rope competition coming up?
Yes, in February, I will be having my trials to try and qualify for the Jump Rope World Championship in Japan.
All right. Best of luck to you there.
Thank you.